Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is going to contain a summoning session on the Sigil Spotlight showcase. We're basically going to be sparking in this video trying to get Sheila. She is one of the characters who I've been missing that I now see an opportunity to acquire since I have plenty of Wormite to be able to spark for her. And also, in case you missed my last video, based on data mines, I think we have a pretty good sense of the banners that are happening between now and the end of November, with the end of November also possibly being the end of service for Dragalia Lost. So with that in mind, I want to summon sooner rather than later now that I have the resources I need to try to take advantage of these characters and get to use them while I have the chance. And also, I know that the banner that I really want to pull on is coming up fairly late in the next couple of months here. It's a banner for Gala Elysium, who's the only Gala, Dragon, or Adventurer I'm missing. So that's the plan for today. Even if I spark for Sheila, I should still have around enough left to be able to spark for Elysium, so I'll still be able to save for Elysium. And as you can see, there aren't that many characters I'm missing here. It's a little bit of a tough choice because I do want the humanoid Great Worms at some point, but I figured with Sheila, at least that rounds out the Auspexes for me, and maybe I can go rebattle the final boss using an all Auspex team. That would be kind of fun. Whereas with the Great Worms, I need 2 of them, and I can't really afford to do 2 sparks right now. So that's my thought process on wanting to get Sheila first and then getting the Great Worms later. Of course, some of these other characters like Irene and Summerchell, I also really want to get them eventually, but who knows? Maybe I'll try to go all out and round up my complete collection. Also on the horizon are 2 Platinum Deluxe showcases, which should give me 2 more of the adventures I'm missing here, as well as a Dream Summon, so that could give me one of these, or also the dragon that I'm missing, Tieshan Gongzhu. We'll see though. I'm not sure if I'll end up getting everything in the game before end of service, but honestly, we're really close, so maybe I'll try to do it. You know, it's funny, the one thing that I missed that I cannot get back at this point is actually the Lucky Hanatsuki paddle from the first New Year's of the game, and it's a paid purchase only. It's not a very good weapon skin or weapon or anything like that, but it was just exclusive to that period and never rerun, and at the time I was strictly a free-to-play player, so yeah, that is the one big thing that if I could go back and purchase, I probably would, just for completeness sake. But anyway, I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. We'll start off with single summons. Basically, our collection is so complete at this stage that it's pretty unlikely we're going to get anything new along the way, so anything new that we get we'll treat as a bonus, but we're basically planning on sparking for Sheila here. Alright, and wow, 3 5-stars in... what? 3 5-stars in 10 single tickets, that's crazy! All adventurers too, no dragons. Well, there are definitely some weapon types there where we don't have all the adventures, so there's a possibility, however slim. Alright, we got Incognito Nefaria. I love Nefaria as a character, so happy to see her. Happy to see Victor. I really like him too. I think Noelle is my favorite though from that group of characters. And finally, we get Yaten. Oh, Yaten. I love Yaten too. Yaten is just like one sleepy boy. He's so relatable. And he's also a very good festival planner, and he's become a really powerful adventurer. So is Victor, by the way, with the Mana Spiral. Incognito Nefaria, not the most powerful, but just very fun to use because of how explosive her second skill is. I don't even think it's optimal to use, but it's really fun when you can pull it off, and just how massive an area of effect it has. She basically summons, like, she does an incantation and summons a giant meteor that hits the whole battlefield, so it's really satisfying to watch it happen. But oh, we got some wind archers here, but of course it's not necessarily the greatest. She's a character that could have definitely benefited from being born after Curse of Nihility, if you will. Her energy related mechanics just don't work that well, and I think some of her buffs don't work that well in Curse of Nihility, but if she had been released afterward, she probably would have had like critical amps and stuff that would have at least translated to that post-nihility environment a little bit better. So we're increasing our pity rate here, not necessarily for a real purpose per se, because there's not anything on the showcase at a rate up that we're trying to target, but alas, we are getting some 5 stars with the 2 gold Fafnirs there. Speaking of Fafnirs, or maybe, I don't know if these are technically Fafnirs or if they're just in the Fafnir family, but y'all remember smith worms that are used in the Halidom? I was looking at my Halidom, and I realized I still have 4 smith worms instead of 5. And I was contemplating whether... Nice Simurg there. I was contemplating whether before the end of service, like, if I have some extra Wormite or Diamantium or something, like, should I just go ahead and get that 5th smith worm even though my Halidom's maxed out? Like, just for one extra friend, you know, in the Halidom? Part of me feels like I should. Maybe that's that weird completionist mentality that goes back to what I was saying earlier about the Lucky Hanatsuki paddle, but there is definitely a part of me that feels like I want to, for whatever reason, get that missing smith worm so I have all 5. Which is funny because early on in the game's life, I think for over a year, I only had 2 smith worms, and I was a strong advocate for, you don't really need to buy the smith worms. If you just manage your cooldown times, you actually can get by just fine on 2 of them. And later on, you know, we got Hustle Hammers. There are a lot more facility levels. They take longer. Here we get a Naveed too. Naveed, another unit I really like, who released early in the game's life. But anyway, yeah, I was like not about, you know, spending precious Wormite on getting smith worms, but eventually I think I just decided to get the other 2. I can't remember exactly when it happened, but I'm sure there's a video on it at the time that I did it. And I guess I just never really needed the 5th one, so I didn't get the 5th one. I think I recall the increase in the cost for the 5th one was pretty steep, so a little bit more expensive to go from the 4th to the 5th one. We'll just do 1 single here. But yeah, that's one thing I never spent Wormite on in the early days. And another thing is refreshing my stamina and Gather Wings, because I always felt like if you just wait, stamina and Gather Wings are a renewable resource, but Wormite is not a renewable resource. It's a finite resource, so you should try to save it for summoning, especially if you're a free-to-play player. In the end, there were some times when I had leftover Diamantium from summons that I did, and I did use it to refresh my Gather Wings or stamina at some points. But looking back, like, I definitely didn't need to do that. Oh, Forager Mitsuba! I'm getting all these adventures I really like. Mitsuba, one of my favorite characters too. And, pretty good, Azazel. I honestly don't know if I have 2 fully unbound Azazels. I think I only have 1. Azazel's one of those dragons I just have not gotten very often, and having 2, you know, at this point in the game's life, not all that important, but there was a time when it was pretty important. But anyway, back to the conversation about Wormite. I tried to be really conservative with how I spent it, but eventually there were some times when I do remember spending Diamantium just to like refresh my stamina and like continue farming for whatever reason. But looking back, like now that we're at the end of the game, I have so many extra honey and ashes that it was definitely a waste. And the same could be said of a lot of the paid packs. Or not necessarily a waste, but I guess it puts in perspective that those things really were about providing a temporary benefit, but not necessarily a long-term benefit in any meaningful way, because I think now that we've gotten to the end of the game, like our F2P resources, if you've been here since the beginning, not necessarily if you started later, but if you've been here since the beginning, they've definitely caught up to the level where you can build like your full collection. And a good example of that is all the resources that were given out for free when the final chapter is going to be released. I think those still might be available to collect if you haven't already, if you haven't logged in a while. But we're getting some more 5 stars, so let's hope we get something new. Anything new, like I said, would be an extremely pleasant surprise. Oh, we got Corsaint Phoenix. I think she's one of the prettiest dragons. I don't know, it's just something, the purple and kind of like the pale white, and a little bit of a Dragalia theme. I really like Core St. Phoenix's design. I would have to give her the nod over regular Phoenix, I think. We got Basilius too. Basilius is just one of those characters as well. He's like too cool to dislike, but I'm still upset at him a little bit about how he treated the other apostles and how he treated Pinon. I guess he kind of redeemed himself, but not 100% redeemed in my mind. I still hold a little bit of a grudge against Basilius. Like, for me, Nevin is the apostle that just speaks to my heart the most. Versarda's way up there too. Pinon and Nevin relationship, though, kind of just puts them over the top. Whereas I feel like Versarda is more of just a standalone, very endearing character. Okay, so who do we get now? Looks like nothing on the circle. I'm pretty aggressively skipping ahead since it is a lot of summoning to get through, so bear that in mind. We may get spooked by a secret 5-star if we skip ahead too aggressively here. If we get a magical transformation of some kind, which could happen. We'll skip here too, even though, alright, we didn't get one. I was going to say that's when it could happen, precisely then. Almost at a 6% rate, we'll go ahead and use all our singles, as we were doing. And we'll probably break our pity rate here, but maybe not. Looks like not. Unless, alright, not there, but unless we get a surprise, and we didn't. Okay, so 6% rate, we're going to go for a tenfold now, and probably not spend any more singles, although we're at a weird number of worm sigils, so we may use some of our singles just to like get to an even number of worm sigils before we spark. That could certainly be a possibility for us. And we're breaking our pity, 6% rate, feels pretty good. Hopefully get at least a couple 5-stars. You never know though. Only one, a lot of 4-stars, but only one 5-star. Who is it going to be? A Manicaster. Alright, it could be Irene or Cecile, so I like our chances with Manicaster compared to some of the other weapon types, because I think it's still the shallowest pool as far as number of adventurers in it. Of course, we do have a lot of them. We have all the other ones, so it's not super likely. And we got, what is it? Saiga, I think his name is. He's a character, I can't even see his name, but I think his name is Saiga. He's a character, I loved Armored Yachio, but I wasn't crazy about Saiga. Maybe it's just his villainous past, but it was a little harder for me to latch onto. Maybe it's kind of the Basilius thing at work. I guess other than Volk and some of the Agito, I've never been as drawn to the villainous characters. Like, I've never been crazy about Leonidas or Harl. And I know Leonidas and then eventually Harl kind of become part of the squad, or they become more heroic in their own ways. But I still feel like some of the atrocities that were committed, you know, it's hard to forgive some of those things. So maybe that's why they don't hold the same place in my heart. All right, we'll skip again. And no 5-star surprise there. We're starting to get access sent to our goodie box, which, speaking of goodie box, has just been full of stuff because there's all these free materials that I've maxed out or capped out on now, and I can't get them out of my goodie box, so I'm sure many of you are in the same situation at this point in the game. We do get a 5-star dragon here. If we manage to get Tia, that would be pretty wild, since she's the one and only dragon we're missing, but of course we get Liger instead. I guess that's kind of like Tia at home, because you can throw Liger on healers and it'll be, you know, it'll do something, it'll be fine, especially with the 5th Unbind you can get from Draconic Essences. Like, all those dragons that have that starting buff at the beginning of quests are fairly solid. They're pretty okay. We've definitely reached a point where there's a lot greater equality among the power level of dragons. I'm not saying that there aren't some that are much more powerful than others, but with the addition of Draconic Essences and the 5th Unbind, that whole thing, a lot of the weaker dragons did get shored up in nice ways, which is definitely appreciated. The same could be said of a lot of the adventurers who got late mana spirals. Some of them are like the best for Primal Dragon content nowadays, or at least really good. Like Catherine became really good, Sanka became quite good. I talked about Victor earlier. Alright, who do we have here? Alright, Apollo.
I am the sun.
Good to see Apollo. I don't think we ever really got a whole lot about, what was it, Apollonia? I think that might be the name of it, but basically where Emma and Leia are from. At least there's one worm print that features them. I think it's Flower in the Fray. Maybe I'm thinking of another worm print, but I think that location is mentioned. Or was there like a Coliseum event or one of those Onslaught or Defensive Battle events? I can't remember. One of the things that's still on my checklist before EOS, and I've been very slowly working on this project, but I have to do a tier list or ranking of some kind of all the events, and that'll also give me a good opportunity to just go back and reflect and remember what all of the events were, because, you know, quite frankly, we did get a lot of events in Dragalia Lost, which is super cool. Even in 4 years of service, I think we got a pretty outstanding number of events overall. So I'm very happy that we got that many to enjoy. Alright, no 5 stars in sight. We're finally breaking into the Wormite, which was to be expected. We fully thought we were going to have to spark here, and this far along, even if we randomly got Sheila, we'd still continue forward to take advantage of our worm sigils we're spending. We would just end up sparking for somebody else instead, of course. So, no turning back at this stage of the summoning session. Any 5 stars we get along the way are nice, but realistically, like I've said, our chances of getting something new are not very high. This time around, we have a dragon, so we'll go ahead and skip forward until we see what dragon we get, just in case. And it's another Simurgh! Alright, I guess we've been blessed with 2 Simurghs today. She's a really fun dragon as well. She reminds me of Laureno's event and spending a crazy amount of Wormite for the Forest Bonds Wormprint back when Wormprint summoning was a thing. That was a pretty good memory, pretty fun memory, just because that was one of my crazier summoning sessions early on. And it was just a ridiculous amount of Wormite that I had to spend, and I don't even remember if I succeeded or not in getting the Wormprint. But ultimately, a Wormprint soon outclassed, I would say, because, you know, we really didn't need to use those 40% skill damage Wormprints for all that long. I can't quite remember when they got outclassed. You know, it did take a while for us to get our 6 Wormprints and all that, so it might be longer than I'm letting on that it was beneficial for, but I don't think that it was something that I really should have spent all those resources on, especially considering Wormprints soon after, or at least not long after, were added to the shop to where you could just pick Wormprints to get on your own. Alright, I think we're getting close to 300 worm sigils here, so I've got to remember to check that next time so we don't do more summons than we really need to. We're at 276, okay, so we'll want to do a couple more 10-folds, and then we'll close things out with like 4 single summon tickets just to get up to that even 300. We'll go ahead and skip here, no sign of a 5-star. And I'm trying to think if it really matters the order we do this in. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess we'll just start with the 10-fold summon, and then we'll do our 4 single tickets. We are going to break our pity here, so hopefully we get something good to close out the video before we do our spark. Something new that we don't have, maybe? It could be a possibility. It's a wand, so it could be somebody like Yukata Cleo, who we're still missing. What's it gonna be? And, oh! Well, it's somebody we already have, but always a welcome sight to see a Bondforged adventurer. I feel like this summoning session was a good trip down memory lane of different bonds, different Dragalia Lost moments, so I think that's a pretty good way to close things off. We'll do our 4 singles. It'd be pretty crazy if we got something off of these. I'm not expecting anything. We're gonna get some baby dragons, Xiaolei, Johanna, and Verica. Only 1 baby dragon, actually. And now we have 300 worm sigils, so you can trade these for an adventure of our choice, or our missing dragon. I'm gonna wait on her, in part because if the last event is a revival of the Princess Connect collab, and it has a free-to-play Dream Summon ticket, and that Dream Summon ticket is limited to older adventures and dragons, this might be one of my only options, so that's why I'm saving her for one of the last things I get. We're definitely getting Sheila. We decided upon it at the beginning of the video. Even though my Flame Squad is pretty well staffed up at this point, pretty solid, Sheila is now our ally. She's one of the only story characters I didn't have available to me in some form or another. You can see we have almost around enough to do another Spark. We'll definitely have plenty to do another Spark by the time that Elysium releases. So I think we're well set up now for the future. And I'll definitely try out Sheila in an upcoming video where I use the Auspectus team to take on the final boss in the main campaign. But that is going to do it for today, everybody. Let me know if you've decided to spend any of your resources as we wind down the days with Dragalia Lost. Hope you're doing well, hope you have a good weekend, and your summer is winding down in a positive manner. Once again, though, that is going to do it for today, so thank you as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.